Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Nutrition Coaching Secrets podcast. It is a lovely Friday morning. We are talking holiday nutrition strategies, and Tommy and I were talking off air. I said, which direction do you want to go with this? Do you want to help individuals with their holiday food, or should we help coaches navigate the holidays as to how to best coach their clients? And, really just now, as I was saying that, it hit me, it's kind of the same thing. So I think what we're going to do is devise a strategy. I think if individuals use this strategy, if coaches use this strategy and they implement it with their clients, obviously they're going to build retention, going to build success in the new year. If individuals use this strategy, they are going to find success. And I think everybody is going to be extremely happy. So first of all, man, before we jump in, how has this crazy week unrolled in your world, bro? I feel like it's been the weirdest fucking week of all time.
It's just been weird, man. To be honest, I don't feel really strongly either way about either candidate, but just the entire mess of a situation is draining. Even though I'm not super invested into it, I can't imagine what people who are genuinely super invested into what's happening are feeling right now. Because even I'm just all right, I'm done with this.
Well, I think it's interesting, man. We're just living in such a world of unknown. And I think the one thing we can all extract from this is there's so many uncertainties in life. And we definitely can't control everything. What we can control is our own actions and our own attitudes, and that's about it. And I think a lot of people really need to, I think it's a great reminder right now. I think a lot of people really need to remember that. I think a lot of people need to live inside of that, stop deflecting our power. Listen, I get it. Whoever wins this election is, the most powerful person really in the world. But, I think that we have to stop deflecting that. I think we have to really own our power. And I think we all need to try to find some success there. So let's leave the political discussion aside.
Yes, please.
But, let's jump in, man. So first of all, holiday nutrition. I think that the stat that I have read, the most consistent numbers that I can find are that the average person is going to gain 6 to 10 pounds over the next, 2 months, through November and December. And I think that the one alarming thing that I continue to point out to coaches and clients alike is, everybody's going to make a New Year's resolution. We know, especially I feel like in 2021, because everyone's going to want to leave the madness of 2020 behind. So everyone's going to make a resolution. A lot of them are health and fitness related. At very least, they're weight loss related. And the simple notion is this: if you 10 pounds over the next 60 days, those first 6 to 10 pounds you lose in the new year is getting you back to a net zero. So mission number one over the next 60 days is stop the weight gain. Right. And that's completely different than lose weight. That's completely different than recomp. That's completely different than get healthy. Okay. Let's just make that crystal clear, because in NCI, in the triangle of awareness, we understand that goals must be specific, and that as you become more and more specific with your goals, you're also becoming more and more specific of what your goals are not. And I think that is critical. We have to understand that. Okay. So when we start looking at how are we going to prevent weight gain? Well, I talked about it this morning on Instagram. I think the first thing you don't need is a diet. I think that any individual that is like, oh my God, what is my diet going to be through the next 60 days? That's up for a disaster, right? Remember, we're living in Western culture today where the number of dietary protocols is at an all-time high, right? That's not disputable. It's at an all-time high. And also in Western culture, obesity is at an all-time high. Now, I don't think I don't think the correlation is the more diets the become. I don't think that's correlated. But it is an interesting fact that in Western culture, gym memberships are at an all-time high. The number of dietary protocols are at an all-time high, and obesity is at an all-time high. So clearly, diets as they are not the answer. I do think we can extract that. So we're going to borrow from our boy Tyler Newton here. And I actually used his methodology in my Instagram post today. And I really I helped Tyler develop this framework. At least I helped him name it. He's been doing this forever. So shout out to him. If you guys aren't following him, go find him. He's a phenomenal nutrition coach. And when we started talking about the way in which he approached things. I really liked it. And the first was to set a vision. And I think a lot of people need to understand, what do you actually want out of the next 60 days? Because I know for me, and this is probably blasphemous for a lot of people, Thanksgiving Day isn't that important to me. Like when I was in the bodybuilding world, I ate turkey and sweet potatoes like all the time. So like, of course I look forward to things like mac and cheese and stuffing and pumpkin pie. But I'm also different in the sense that I was formerly anorexic, and I don't have an issue with ever overeating because the anorexic side of my brain will never allow me to hit that point. So, when I look at the holidays and I think vision, I don't ever want to feel restricted. That's my number one thing. I never know when a holiday outing might pop up on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night, or an unplanned night. I think a lot of people plan their social events around Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and so all of a sudden up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and that is not planned for or not inside of a vision, then clearly that could be the culprit for some of this 6 to 10 pound weight gain. So I know for me, one of the biggest things in my vision is I love to be around really good people. I love to share like connection and bond in these times. And usually with that comes a glass of wine or, a vodka soda or something like that. And I genuinely enjoy that. So I have to understand that for me, this time of year, I'm good with a glass of alcohol probably 3 times a week, right? That's kind of the vision I've created. Just because it's the holidays, it's an excuse, right? And I think that's an area that a lot of people get into trouble with is they start to treat the holidays as an excuse. Oh, well, it's Thanksgiving, December. We're never going to do this again. No, yeah, you are. 12 months from now, right? And then 24 months from now, and then 36 months from now, and then 48 months from now, right? You get to do it every year. And so, and you've been doing it here for, several years. For you, 21, for me, 36. Like, we've been doing it. And so it doesn't change that much. And the simple reality is, if we wanted to create excuses, well, January, there's an excuse to drink because it's New Year's. February, it's Valentine's Day. March, St. Patrick's Day. Like, we could find excuses in every month to justify our actions, and I don't think that's a good idea. So instead, inside of our vision, where are we connecting to these holidays most, and how are we connecting to these holidays most? So for me in November, it's not the food. The food doesn't do it for me, but the social gatherings and the drinks definitely do. So that's inside of my vision, right? I want to be able to be as social as I can be, and I want to be able to enjoy myself. And really, for me, just like I believe for everybody, it's a maintenance time. If anything, I am actually trying to get my calories up while not letting my body comp get out of control, right? That's where I'm at from a vision perspective. I think the average person's probably not too dissimilar. I think that they should, if you're a really good coach, you should be trying to lead your client to understand that this time of year, by no means, unless you're a bodybuilder or unless you're a competitive athlete that's competing in January, I don't really think this time of year is an active pursuit of goals, or what we would call in season. I think, better stated, this is a great time for postseason. This is a great time for off season. This is a great time for diet recovery, or when we look at off season in a periodized schedule, we talk about it very relative to building a better foundation for future adaptation. Right. And what I mean by that is, if it's an off season and you're working on metabolic capacity, obviously we know if you're able to consume more calories, your next dietary process, number one, is probably going to be more enjoyable. But because you've spent time working on that capacity, you're going to be able to diet on more calories initially. I think a lot of people mistake that, thinking your end point of your diet is going to be different. A lot of times it's not for most individuals. But initially you get to diet on more calories. And if you're working on capacity right now, that means calories are higher. It means that you have more room for the treat associated with the holidays. So, when we kind of understand where we're at, that really needs to come into play as well. But the holidays are a great time for that. And also concurrent with postseason and off season is stress control. Listen, we opened up with it. Western culture is stressed as fuck right now. I'm not a political person at all. Like, if you would be hard pressed to find me in a political conversation ever. I am one of those people that says I am in control of my own destiny and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I have to do to succeed. That's always how I've gone about it. So, when I hear people blaming politics, it's, and I respect it. Like, I never dismiss anyone's opinions, but, those are conversations that I typically don't engage in. Right. But what we are in control is stress. And so with Western culture being super high stress, we can control our other stress inputs and our de-stressing outputs, right? We can absolutely control how much we're training, the intensity by which we're training, the amount of sleep we're getting, the quality of food that we're consuming. And we can also control parasympathetic things like, are we doing body work? Are we stretching? Are we doing breath work? Are we doing any mindset related activities? Are we simply just going for a walk to clear our head? I think that this has to live inside of the vision, because if we're putting the food that we consume on an island, our vision is entirely too narrow. When we're talking about vision, I think it needs to expand. I think we need to start looking not just from a 10,000, but from a 30,000 foot view. We need to stop looking at a small component of the landscape, and we need to look at the entire landscape. I think that it's critical that we start here. So, obviously, dude, you've been in NCI for quite some time. You've been around us. You've worked with clients. How does that resonate with you on the coaching side? In the sense that you've through this before, how does that resonate with you as the coach, and how do you think clients are going to respond to that?
I mean, it's pretty much what I've been doing as long as I've been a coach during the holidays. Very rarely, unless a client is absolutely adamant about going into a fat loss phase or in season during the holidays, I would usually advise against it and just, again, work on metabolic capacity, go through a reverse diet. Because then, I mean, that way you're setting your client up for success when we get into the new year, into spring, when people want to cut for the next summer. You're not going to be able to cut effectively if you haven't set that foundation previously. So we can use this time to really set that foundation like you were talking about. And long term, it works really well.
Well, and I think, there's two sides to look at. I think from the client side, from the end user side, they always want to feel like they're actively pursuing their goals. Even when we explain periodization and we talk about postseason and we talk about off season, they're like, I don't want to do that. And I get it. It's not fun. It's not sexy. But they have to feel like what they're doing is closer to their goals. That, like, every good coach can spin postseason and off-season conversations as effectively working towards a client's goals. And if you can't, you need to work on your communication skills, because communication is a big part of coaching. So we have to be able to do that. But so I think that if the clients understand that actually eating more during Thanksgiving and Christmas is in fact working them towards their goals, and I think you're going to get compliance, and I think that's going to get into the vision, right? So once we have a vision set, now the next thing we have to do is we have to build, I don't want to call them rules, because I think rules are a little too restrictive, but we got to build principles. We've said a diet is not what you need, right? Illustrated that with the statistics earlier on. And so if a diet is not what you need, you do need some principles to live by. You need to know, and these principles can be so varied, right? For me, one of my principles that I am living by until the end of this year is 12,000 steps a day. I know that I'm so busy this time of year, right? And I'm taking the month of December off. But I know that I'm so busy with behind the scenes work, and we're doing so much here at NCI. I mean, you understand everything that's happening behind the scenes. Yeah. We're really getting ready to revolutionize an industry in 30 days. There's a lot happening. And I also know that, like, when I'm working, I'm either sitting right here in this chair, or I'm sitting like over there in bed. And those are the two places I work from. That's not a lot of caloric expenditure. I also know that my workout intensity is very low because it has to be. I don't have the recovery right now to train at a high intensity modality as much as I would love to. I'd love to go back to CrossFit. I really would. And so with that understanding, I know that movement is a big thing. I also know that when I consistently hit 12,000 steps, I tend to stay a little bit leaner, right? On average, if left to my own devices, I'd be getting like 4,000. On an average day, not focused on movement, right? Doing the amount of work that I do, I would probably get 4,000 steps. And so instead, Now I'm aiming to, and I can tell you today, I mean, we're what, November 6th. I started this November 1. I'm noticeably leaner in the mirror. I actually feel better from getting that. And that's one principle, right? Another principle for me is hydration. I know something I ignore all the time is my water intake. I committed to a gallon of water, right? I'm so bad about it. Did a fucking 5-shot Americano on Friday morning, and then, you know.
That's the hydration for the day.
Yeah, man. And then wash that down with a Monster later on. And Jesus, thank God we have something to help our adrenals coming out soon. But subtle little reframe there. But you know, hydration to me is huge. At some point, honestly, everything is better. My gut health is better. And you know, when my guts are better, obviously I feel better. So hydration is really important for me. So a gallon of water a day is another principle. And then, you know, I broke my nutritional strategy down, and I made it very simple. Like there's a very few principles. The principle number one is 4 meals a day. I feel best on 4 meals a day. I don't eat breakfast right away. I usually fast till about 10 o'clock, and then I eat my breakfast. And then the only other dietary principle is carbohydrate consumption relative to training. So that's the principle for me. So for instance, today, I trained yesterday. I trained the day before. I had a great squat session 2 days ago. Had a great push session yesterday. So I'm going to take today off. I'm going to golf this afternoon. And that means no carbohydrates at breakfast. I'm not training. I don't need them, right? Non-essential nutrient. I feel better right now. Low carbs, understanding where my HPA axis is. I won't even do a carb at lunch. I don't have a carb at a snack unless I feel like I need some energy on the golf course. And then dinner, I'll have a significant amount of carbohydrates. And I'll be able to, because I'm going to train early tomorrow morning, right? So literally my biggest dietary principle is to listen to my hunger cues and carbohydrate consumption relative to where they're needed in terms of training. That's it. I'm not neurotic about counting. I'm not worried about under eating. I'm not worried about overeating. I don't want to call it intuitive, but because it's not intuition, right? This is studied, this is trained for quite some time. Anybody that didn't hear us talk about the issues of intuitive eating, they need to listen to an earlier episode where we did discuss that, because in fact, that breakdown that we use with intuitive eating, a lot of people seem to take it and put it in their content. Like it was a very good breakdown of why intuitive eating doesn't work. So it's not an intuition, but it's biofeedback driven. Okay. And that's the big distinction I want to make here is, if we can really connect our clients to understanding their biofeadback responses in this time, man, you're doing so well to set them up for the new year. Number one, you as the coach are going to have a much better experience with your client. When your clients really understand biofeedback and they can come to you and they can articulate biofeedback and they're excited about being able to articulate biofeedback, man, you're in a good place, right?
Yeah, you win.
That's a great place to be. So this time, I'm really trying to connect people to that. So for myself, when I look at it, it's like, all right, am I sleeping well? Yep. Okay, cool. No need to change. Am I hungry? Yeah, I'm reasonably hungry. Okay, good. No need to change. And do I have energy? Energy's a little low. Okay, cool. So every time I eat today, I'm going to eat a little bit more, right? So if my breakfast is egg, I might have 2 more pieces of bacon. If my lunch is like, you know, beef and some nuts and some veggies, I might have a little bit more beef. My snack in the afternoon, maybe I'll add a piece of fruit with my shake. And then dinner, I'm just going to eat a little bit more than I normally would, right? So tomorrow we're going to gauge, is my energy good? It is? Okay, cool. I'm going to go back to normal. I am literally eating in regards to biofeedback. That's it. Now, keep in mind, one of my principles was that I could still have 3 to 4 alcoholic beverages per week, right? 3 nights. So like realistically for me, that's about 3 to 4 total per week. And I think this definitely lives inside of the vision I've created. So that's how I went about establishing my principles. There's no numbers, there's no restriction, but it's biofeedback. And I can connect to biofeedback. That's great. Now here's the beauty. If we've done this right, if we've established a vision that's appropriate, if we have created principles to live by, this actually sends us into the new year with enough autonomy to act in a manner that is conducive to our own selves and our own success without pandering to anything else, without pandering to the situations of the world, the election, the craziness, the New Year's, the whatever is coming, right? You have enough autonomy to understand that based on the physiological responses you're experiencing, you know how to start making changes, which is a phenomenal foundation. Because now, when January 1 comes, what do? We adjust the vision. Because the vision we were operating with was 60 days in duration. Okay, cool. Did we hit that vision? If the answer is yes, fantastic. That means our principles were on point. That means we probably need to carry those principles over. We need to build a new vision. We need to ensure those principles will match up to this new vision. And then we need to give our clients the autonomy to execute principles. That's critical. When you can give your clients autonomy to execute inside of principles, instead of feeling like they are a slave to a written word or a written set of numbers, you truly are winning the journey. But allowing a client to solely connect to 3 macro numbers, maybe a fiber number, a step goal, and an activity goal, there's not a lot of autonomy there. It sounds very black and white. It's a yes or no. And when your clients are already entirely too transactional anyway. We know if they wake up and they're like, oh, I want a pancake today, they're like, oh, fucked up my diet, had a pancake. So on top of the pancake, let's have 5 pastries, wash that down with a Frappuccino, hit Dunkin' Donuts on the way home, grab a pizza for lunch, and let's wash that down with Cheesecake Factory tonight. Because 1 pancake warrants all of that. Right? There's no autonomy there. There's absolutely none. There's a connection to a very black and white, no gray area type process. And that's not what dieting should be. That's not what holiday survival should be. So when we look at this crazy period of time, we look at a time that brings a lot of stress, and the stats show a lot of weight gain. I think there's a lot of things that coaches need to be doing, but I think there's 3 things, thanks to our good friend Tyler Newton, that they really need to be working on. First of which is establish an amazing vision. Number 2 is inside of that vision, build yourself some principles to live by over the next 2 months. And then from there, be sure that you have the autonomy to make decisions. It should not be rigid. You should be able to call an audible every day. You should know, based on how your biofeedback is speaking to you, how to make decisions. And that only comes with a coach empowering you to have autonomy, or as a client to be asking for autonomy, not to be asking your coach for something that is so black and white. Because right now, this time of year, that is the worst thing that you can be experiencing. I believe when we remove the rigidity, when we actually start deploying against appropriate targets, appropriate vision with principles and autonomy, not with diets and restriction, that's how we create success. So, guys, as always, we hope you are out there continuing to choose impact over everything. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you hanging out with us. And guys, if you want to keep up with this, if you want to watch us stream these live and get your questions answered, be sure you come join the Nutrition Coaching Secrets Facebook group. There's a lot going on in there. In fact, last night we did a live training just for group members. This was not promoted anywhere else. We actually taught them how to turn dollars into $4,000 very quickly as a nutrition coach last night. And again, this was a private training. So make sure you're in that group because we do a lot of cool things unique to that group. Number 2, guys, keep an eye on NCI. There's a big change coming December 1st. If you have not enrolled in NCI, I'll tell you right now is the time you're going to want to book a call with myself or my team. We need to, because the face of the industry is changing very quickly, and we want to make sure you're a part of the army of impact. We want to position you as the leader of this movement of choosing impact over everything. So, guys, so much love. Have an amazing Friday. Have an amazing week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you share it with a friend. Give us a review. Leave a comment, whatever it is. We really appreciate those things. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure you subscribe. But again, much love. Have an amazing weekend. Talk soon.